The glorified workout has come and gone, otherwise known as the scouting combine, and the off season is now officially set to begin. Tampering period is set to begin in about a week or so here. We'll see what kind of free agent contracts are signed, who goes where. We've already gotten some news on some franchise tags. I'm sure we'll get some more news as more teams use those. But for right now, and in today's video, we are going to be continuing our series this week of sure shots and sleepers. We are going position by position. Yesterday, starting off with the quarterbacks and the safeties by Coach D. And I'm going to be continuing on today with running backs and edge rushers. Edge rushers, off-ball linebackers, defensive ends. They all kind of, have different names, but for the most part, they have one job, and that's to get after the quarterback. But starting off with the running backs, I chose somebody as my sure shot, I should say. It's only one. I did one per position with 2 sleepers per position. So my sure shot for running back is, well, I guess you could say, could have been very easy, right? Could have been Genty. Obviously, everybody's talking about him. Bona fide stud out of Boise State. Doesn't really need any introduction. Heisman candidate. Heisman runner-up, I should say. But I want to talk about Omarion Hampton at UNC. Now, he is somebody that I feel, although Genty is obviously in like top 10, top 8-ish pick consideration, Omarion Hampton could very well go in that like top 13-ish range. And that's saying a lot for for somebody who's a running back. And I think coming into this coming into last offseason, the running back position was severely undervalued. I mean, people were obviously the Giants let Saquon walk, and that was the worst decision maybe in franchise history, given what happened this past season. But I think it just showed the lack of, I don't want to say, I guess, lack of appreciation for running backs. Like, obviously, we said Saquon, but, that was the offseason. Eckler walked. McCaffrey was really the only running back. Derrick Henry was, also there, but the position was at a like all-time low. And this season we saw it do almost a complete 180. We saw a team win the Super Bowl. I mean, they didn't win the Super Bowl based off Barkley, but they got there, and their entire season, all their success this year was essentially based on Barkley. Well, let's be real. So I think all that is to say that I truly believe Omarion Hampton is one of these guys that can be a difference maker depending on to which team he goes to. He is the second ranked running back of the draft, obviously behind Genty. So I mean, he's just an explosive bruiser back. He's the typical Tank Bigsby type. He's got amazing burst in the hole. He had an amazing combine as well. Just a do-it-all back, breakaway speed. I mean, can get to the next level in an instant. I mean, like, he is just somebody that could do it all. Like, I thought kind of like the same thing about Tank Bigsby when he came out. And I feel like the Jags, I should say, haven't used him to his full potential yet. The Jags have a lot of other issues, but that's not to say that I think Omarion Hampton could be a bona fide star from day one. Like, I would not be shocked if this guy wins Offensive Rookie of the Year. Yes, I know that's like crazy to say, but depending on where he gets drafted to, I think this guy has the potential to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. I'm that excited about him. Obviously, I have his ideal landing spots as the Cowboys or the Chargers. This is where a couple of mock drafts have him going, and it's kind of like the range. Like I said, he has the potential to fall to around 22ish, 23, 24, those early 20s. But I would not be shocked if a team like the Cowboys swooped him at 12. It would not shock me. It would not shock me one bit. But going over onto the sleepers now, the sleeper side of the running backs. My first guy is Devin Neal from Kansas. 5'11, 213. Not a, big back by any means, but my NFL comp to him is David Montgomery. I think he just has this explosive, energy, athleticism, step, whatever you want to call it about him. And he is a typical bell cow back, right? He's somebody that you can just hand the ball to 25 times and he'll get you, a hard-earned 80 to 85, 90 yards a game. I think, him going to a team like the Steelers, the Chiefs, the Lions, teams with good O-lines. I know the Steelers didn't have a great O-line last year, but I do feel like that is something that they're going to address this year. And they need a running back of kind of this caliber to just, hand the ball off multiple times, not really give it too many thoughts, if that makes any sense. He's incredibly durable, has an amazing first step, like I already said. His change of direction is, I don't want to say otherworldly, but just, there's just not a lot of bad things you can say about him. Obviously, looking at some of his weaknesses, he does take some unnecessary hits. He's kind of like Ezekiel Elliott in that aspect where he's looking to run into people. He is a horrible pass protector. Pass protector. So that is something that he will absolutely need to improve on if he wants to see any sort of consistent playing time. And he is a pure running back. He doesn't really catch the ball out of the backfield too much. And with that kind of weakness, it's tough to run you consistently in an offense when as soon as you come into the game, the defense knows, oh, yeah, you're going to hand it off. But I still think there is some potential for him to, produce at this level in the NFL. And I feel like just with the right protection, with the right scheme, and then the right offense, Devin Neal can be a real problem for some NFL team. Now looking over at my second sleeper for the running back position, we're going to be taking a look at Dylan Sampson, who is sort of like kind of the opposite of Devin Neal. 5'8", 200, smaller back, but 4.35 blazing speed, elite acceleration, was the offensive player of the year for the SEC. And he is actually a severely underrated pass protector. So he is somebody, that can come in, stonewall some, guys that are bigger than him. And that's not, something that is taken lightly. Coaches look at that and that is, there is real value in that in the NFL, of course. He just has a nasty jump cut that creates, so many more yards than he should be getting. Obviously he is a smaller back, but he is built very well. He is very Austin Eckler-like in that way of, he isn't taller or bigger in weight by any means, but he is built well and he can take a hit very well, like the rest of them in the league. So yeah, that is definitely something to be excited for him if you were to draft him. I will say though, going into his weaknesses now, of course, ball security is a huge issue for him. He lost 4 fumbles in 2024 alone. So that is a big red flag, obviously. You do not want to be putting the ball on the ground. I also think that sometimes he can get a little bit too cute trying to, take what's given, or excuse me, gets a little too cute not taking what's given and instead trying to get the, that big burst run. And he ends up getting tackled for a loss or for no gain. So that's something that, but that's something that can get coached out of him, I believe. I don't think that's a an issue where you wouldn't draft him because of it. And he also doesn't really have as much experience as a pass catcher. That he does have that in common with Neal. I think it's only something like he only has like 40 career catches or something like that. Maybe not even 40. Very low number. But it's like I said, just kind of like could be like a gadget guy. Somebody you put in on third down back, tired defense. Somebody you can just hey, he finds a hole. He can turn a single into a home run, as they call it. So yeah, I think he's definitely somebody, that he'll get some playing time if he were to get drafted. I think he's projected to be like a late day 2, early day 3 pick potentially. But yeah, I think he will definitely see some playing time in the NFL. He definitely has the speed for it. Absolutely. Probably get drafted by the Dolphins, but I do have his ideal landing spot going to the Bengals and the Commanders. Bengals, just because I feel like they would want somebody kind of behind Chase Brown and, having that pass blocking ability as well. Commanders, same thing, having somebody behind Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson's not too much of a, speedy back. So to have somebody like this, the biggest thing would be just trying to get him to catch the ball more. That would be a significant boost to the Kingsbury offense there with JD. But yeah, I could definitely see him going to one of those two places. All right, getting into the edge rushers now. So this is personally my favorite part of the video. I specifically asked for this position to review just because there's so much great talent to look at. So much starting talent in day 1 and day 2 of the draft. So let's get right into it for my sure shot. And yeah, I look, I know, say what you will. I could have, I didn't do it for the running backs with Genty, but I had to do it for the edge rushers. It's Abdul Carter. I mean, out of Penn State, you guys know him, freak of nature, 6'3", 250, ran a blazing 4.48 for a edge rusher. That's crazy, 4.48. Oh man. He's going to be an absolute problem in the NFL. All pro level talent, has that off ball linebacker experience. He can play the screen, sniffs out those kind of outside zone runs, or those outside zone runs, those outside screen routes. His pursuit speed is unmatched. I mean, he is, if you would cover his face, you would think he's Micah Parsons, just a little bit skinnier. I mean, out of Penn State, wore the number 11. I mean, it's just, somebody is going to get insanely lucky. Now, the reason why he is my sure shot, and I could have chosen somebody else that's not as talked about, but I chose Abdul Carter because he does have that injury concern that kind of rose a little bit of alarm to some teams. I think the injury potentially pushes him out of the top 5. But obviously for, my ideal landing spots, I do have him Titans, Jags, Panthers. Now, if he goes to the Panthers and they already have Derek Brown and Bryce Young is improving and took a huge step forward this last year, the Panthers, man, hey, I don't want to say anything, but in that division where you really only have to worry about the Bucks, I mean, I take that back. We'll see what Penix is this year. But as the Panthers, if you're able to nab what would have potentially been a number 1 overall pick at 8 because of potential injury concerns, man, that would be nasty for them. That would be nasty. I would love to see him go to the Panthers. Realistically, he probably still goes top 5. But if for whatever reason those injury concerns scare teams off, man, I think he would be fun in Carolina. But moving over on now to the sleeper portion of the edge and outside linebacker group. My first sleeper is Josiah Stewart from Michigan. I had to go with a Michigan guy, obviously, because of Harbaugh. And, you'll see that in one of my ideal landing spots for him. But Josiah Stewart is excuse me, is an amazing edge rusher. Has that explosive first step. Who can consistently win on the edge. He has an insanely high motor that runs. You're at Michigan, so I feel like that's kind of just like a given. You have to have a high motor when you play at Michigan. Master technician with the arms. He is surprisingly stout at the point of attack against tight ends. He, uses natural leverage. He has a compact frame to hold his ground better than, his size suggests. He's just a all around great player that is unfortunately coming out in a super D line heavy draft. There is some mocks I think that have him going as early as like 34, maybe. Is high or early second round. But he also is going as late as day 2. So we'll see. Or as late as day 2, obviously. Early in the second round is day 2. But he is going as late as later day 2. Maybe like kind of later in the third round. But I do still think he will be a value pick for a team. And whoever does get him will get a very good, hardworking player. Stalworth will give you valuable reps. And yeah, just a consistent guy. And if you can get that at in a third round pick, that's a valuable pick for sure. But going over into my last sleeper of the day, it is going to be Braden Swinson. Now, he is out of LSU. I really liked his tape. I watched a little bit of his tape. I don't watch a lot of tape on these guys, but for the little bit that I do, obviously I watched a little bit on each of these guys here. But he was somebody who originally played at Oregon, and he's a little bit of a late bloomer. After he transferred, he was a 3-star recruit, and yeah, he just kind of had a career year, if that makes sense, in college with LSU. He just pocket disruptor, has rare athleticism for a defensive end. So just kind of has like all these tangible things that you would love in a defensive end. 6'4", 255, 4'8", 40, which is, not insane, but not horrible. It's not 5. So, he does have, a little bit of, outside speed. Obviously the biggest concern for him is his weight at 255. He is but a much lighter defensive end. So not sure how he'll hold up against some of those heavier offensive line. Some of those bull rushes they kind of put on him. So we'll see what happens depending on where he goes. But he is just a pure edge or a pure pass rusher. Getting to the quarterback. I mean, teams are just gonna absolutely salivate at the thought of him just like rushing their QB. Rushing the QB, I should say, not their QB. But yeah, I feel like he's somebody that, will have kind of like some flashy moments in the NFL. Will get you some sacks here and there. It has the potential, I feel like, to, put up maybe 6-7 sack seasons, depending on how much playing time he gets. But, have some ideal landing spots, Jets, Panthers, Falcons. Just some teams that, can take him kind of like earlier picks in the later rounds. I think I saw a mock draft having him going like as early as 22, which I just don't see happening. I feel like he's going to be more so late third round pick, kind of more so along the line of Josiah Stewart. But who knows? We'll see what happens. Teams let players fall. So I will definitely be excited to see where he goes, though. That is going to do it, though, guys. I am That is it for today. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm very excited for this draft class this year. Uh, Tons of talent at these two positions, running back and edge rusher. We're going to see a lot of starting talent fall just because of how much of it there is. So I would not be surprised to see some of these guys fall past their projections, maybe fall even into like day 3 of the draft. But it's going to be very exciting to say the least. I'm very excited for it as a team that, or as a fan of a team that needs both of these positions very badly. I will be watching this draft eagerly. So yeah, with that, guys, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe if you want to check out some of our other content. Make sure, like I said, to hit that sub button below. We post daily content Monday through Friday. So that being said, guys, have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and we will see you in the next one.